This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
On today's Smart 7, Starmer set to face down unions over winter fuel, tributes to a velvet-voiced legend, and lots more. It's Tuesday, 10th of September. It's National Hot Dog Day, and happy birthday, Colin Firth.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
Chancellor Rachel Reeves met with Labour MPs on Monday night as she sought to avoid a mass rebellion from backbenchers in Tuesday's vote on the winter fuel allowance cuts. Dozens of MPs are apparently considering abstaining from the vote after a huge backlash to the proposal to cut the fuel support for all but the poorest pensioners. Dame Diana Johnson, the Home Office Minister, was on the media rounds on Monday and she found it difficult to negotiate her way through the questioning.
We do not want to see anyone struggling with energy bills. The winter fuel allowance is not a targeted benefit at the moment, but it's going to be targeted, and that's why it's so important that the poorest pensioners are getting everything they're entitled to. But alongside that, we generally want to get energy bills down.
At one point, she suggested that there might be other options on the table, but the Treasury was quick to insist there are no further mitigation options and no concessions planned ahead of the vote. The government is determined to close the £22 billion black hole in the public finances, despite warnings from union leaders, including Sharon Graham, the General Secretary of the Unite Union.
He needs to do a U-turn. We need to make sure that he is making the right choices, and he needs to be big enough and brave enough to do a U-turn on this choice. It's completely wrong.
The Trade Union Congress, or TUC, is having its annual conference this week in Brighton. It kicked off on Monday and is due to be addressed by Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Tuesday. It could be a difficult moment for the new PM on the day that Parliament is due to vote on the winter fuel allowance cut. Despite deals for train drivers and doctors, the TUC isn't happy about the coming austerity, and Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the NRMT, says people didn't vote for Labour to get more Tory-style economics.
We can't stick to the Tory economic rules, because that means the Tories still rule the economy. We don't want to meet the new boss to find their ideas and policies are the same as the old boss.
General Secretary of the TUC, Paul Nowak, also had some harsh words for the far right after the recent riots.
Nigel Farage isn't a friend of the working class. He's a fraud. A public school educated, private equity loving, NHS privatising, Putin apologist fraud.
The COVID inquiry was back in session on Monday for a 10-week module that is intended to focus on the impact of the pandemic on the Heath service. The former PM Boris Johnson and former Health Secretary Matt Hancock have been explicitly criticised by the bereaved families of COVID victims for falsely portraying that the NHS coped reasonably well with the crisis. The families claim that the NHS had far fewer intensive care-equipped beds than many developed countries before the pandemic hit, and that a lack of capacity left doctors and nursing staff unable to escalate the care for patients that urgently needed it. A separate inquiry by the organisation Transparency International has flagged suspicious PPE contracts that could mean almost 30% of the spend on protective gear needs to be examined in detail. Daniel Bruce is the CEO of the anti-corruption charity.
We identify 123 contracts worthy of further investigation, amounting to £15 billion of very concerning public spending. So please, government relevant authorities, go away and conduct a forensic audit of all of those contracts to ascertain if there is money that could be clawed back.
Idris Elba is a man of many talents, actor, producer, rapper, kickboxer and much more. Now he's turned his attention to knife crime and become increasingly vocal about the need for action as the government announces new plans to halve knife crime over the next 10 years. The Elba Hope Foundation is one of the partners in a new coalition announced on Monday by Prime Minister Keir Starmer at a knife crime summit in Downing Street. The PM says he wants to make it harder to buy knives online and that the government needs to review the sanctions in place for those found in possession of knives. The meeting recognised that knife crime is now a national crisis, and Idris Elba says the focus is one saving the next generation.
We aren't going to end knife crime. That's not a realistic, but we can tackle the attributes towards it. There are kids right now that are 16, 24, that are in that cycle right now that we might not be able to help. But with our joined up thinking, we can help a future generation.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Paralympics GB count up their final medal tally, and Demi Moore wants a reboot. Right after this.
It can be hard balancing taking care of kids, senior loved ones, and yourself. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. There's a reason 29 million families have turned to Care.com. Find background-checked sitters, nannies, and senior caregivers who can help with everything from watching kids after school to senior meal prep. Whether you need full-time, part-time, or even occasional help, you can view rates and book highly rated caregivers that fit your budget and schedule. Get the help you need with Care.com.
Welcome back. Now that the Olympics and the Paralympics are over, it's time to count up the medals. Team GB picked up 65 medals, including 14 golds, which put them 7th in the medal table, but Paralympics GB managed to win 124 medals, including 49 golds, which placed them 2nd in the medal table behind China. In fact, Paralympics GB won a medal in all but one of the 19 sports and won 8 more golds than they did at the Tokyo event. Ross Wilson won bronze in table tennis for Paralympic GB at the Tokyo event, and he says that support from the public and the lottery makes a huge difference.
We wouldn't be able to do what we do without that lottery funding. And I think in the UK, Paralympics GB do an amazing job of helping and supporting us with those facilities. And I think that's what pushes us on to, go and win 49 gold medals and however many more medals we won overall. It's an amazing amount.
Demi Moore seems to be having a bit of a moment right now. There's been a great response to her new beauty industry horror thriller called The Substance, and she was busy at the Toronto Film Festival talking up a potential reboot of an 80s classic. St Elmo's Fire starred Moore alongside fellow Brat Pack members Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Judd Nelson and Emilio Estevez. She says they're all keen but are trying to find a story that will work 40 years later.
We are all in conversation. I think the studio has really been driving this, so I think as far as I know, everyone is in and gung-ho, and that would be epic. That would be so fun.
James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, has died at 93 years of age. He had one of the most iconic voices in cinema, lending his velvet tones to Darth Vader, to Mufasa in The Lion King, and as the voice of CNN. He's also technically an EGOT, having won 2 Emmys, 2 Tonys, a Grammy and an Honorary Academy Award. He starred in many movies and TV shows including Field of Dreams, Coming to America, and made 3 appearances on The Simpsons. There's one moment, though, that he'll never be forgotten for, the startling scene with Luke Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Rest in peace, James.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
Fall is here, and if you want to sleep in the coziest bed imaginable, you have to start with Boll & Branch's best-selling 100% organic cotton sheets. You'll spend every night wrapped in buttery, breathable softness and feel your sheets getting even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with Boll & Branch's 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets. Visit bollandbranch.com and use code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.